Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for joining. I hope you can hear me okay. See, looking to the right. Yep, I got a thumbs up, so sound should be good. My name's Alex. I'm head of product at Yojee. I think most of you or some of you in the call would have actually met me already before. Today, we are kicking off our monthly training sessions. So it's my honor to do the first one. And what we aim to do with these training sessions is to introduce new functionality to everybody, but also to take you through some of the cool things that our system does that you might not know and really give you a little bit of a refresher. So today we're going to be talking about three different topics. So the first one is about reporting and the cool things you can do there in scheduling reports, setting up the filters as you want them, as you like. Then we're going to talk about notes and informing your drivers maybe on specific pickup and delivery notes, how to do that and how to communicate that to your drivers. And then lastly, we'll talk about some documents that you can generate and some cool changes that we implemented over the last few months there to really personalize them, but still have them look good and make all of those things very easy. I'll take you through all of these three things. But before I do, let's just go through some housekeeping stuff while I make myself a little bit smaller on the screen so that you can actually see these. Oh, I went too quick again. So housekeeping stuff. First off, the recording of this session will be shared after the webinar. So if I go a little bit too fast or if things are not clear, then you'll be able to just revisit the whole recording and you should be able to get the information that we share. And secondly, if you have any suggestions or if the audio isn't good or if there's a problem with the video, then please feel free to leave any comments in the chat. We have people on standby to review this consistently or constantly, so you'll get an answer there. And then if you have questions on the content, please use the Q&A section of the Zoom thingy. We will answer all questions, but probably after the recording. So we'll make sure to get you your answers. I think we have about 150 people in the call, so we can't get to all the questions of everybody during these short 30 minutes. So again, we'll record this and we'll share it afterwards. And if you have anything, use the chat or use the Q&A. Now, let me get into the actual system to talk about the first topic. And the first topic is reports. So, as you know, of course, all of you are avid Yojee users, as you know, when you arrive in our platform, this is the first thing you'll see, the landing dashboard. You'll have your widgets and all these things with relevant information on the current affairs of your orders. But we know a lot of you like to be able to export into spreadsheets and just build your own reports. To do that, of course, you'll go into the menu on the left and select reports. So my mouse is on the left here somewhere. And if I go into these reports, you'll see a page with a big table in the middle and there's some tabs on the top. So what these tabs on top represent are the different kinds of reports. So I won't go into all the reports today because the things that I'll talk about apply to all the different reports. But in general, we have an overview of the individual orders that were created by your organization. We'll have a report on the line item levels and the actions that were taken on those items. And then we'll have some reports on individual actions that are taken. So either for exceptions and attempts, which can, of course, happen multiple times for individual items or reports, and then specific to the drivers as well to see to review delivery attempts and things like that for the individual drivers. But today I'll just focus on the orders report. And again, the things I'll mention, they apply to all the different reports. So the first thing you'll notice in these reports is it's really a big list of a lot of things. In this case, I'm looking at a test environment, so you'll see only 37 different results. I think for most of you, if you look at any given day, it will be hundreds or thousands of individual orders. But sometimes, of course, you don't want to necessarily always see the orders that were created today. Maybe you want to see the things that happened yesterday. Some of you always want to look at last week or even last month. Now, to do that, what you can do is you can change the date filter. On the top left, you'll see today, or depending on the language that you're looking at, but you'll see a selected time frame. You can easily change that by just clicking on the word today, and then you can pick whatever is appropriate for you. So in this case, I want to look at this week. Then I select that, and I'll see now it's 93 different results. Yeah, that's really easy to change. This week and today before it were based on the creation date of the order. But there are a lot of other things. Maybe you want to look at only orders that were completed today or yesterday, then you can just simply click on the completion date. Maybe there are orders that don't even have a date or no dates and times defined, or the commit times. You can choose whatever you want, and then you can pick from this long list of presets. And in some cases, we know some of you like to be a little bit more specific, so you're also free to enter your own date range. So anything between the 8th of October and yesterday, for instance, you could add that. You'll see the report refresh in real time. So even though it's a lot of data, what you'll notice is it's really become a very fast report. And so you can use this for a lot of operational things as well. The good thing to note, though, or important thing to note, is in some cases, the data in this report might be up to 10 minutes late. Most cases it won't be, but that's just a disclaimer that we add. Now, one of the important things, of course, is searching by time frame. So as I just showed, you can select the time frame. But again, if your organization creates hundreds or thousands of orders in a day, then simply selecting the time frame might not be enough. So in those cases, what we'll do is we'll add additional filters. So to really track down the things that you might want to see. So for example, I'll click Add Filter, and maybe I'm going to filter on the packing mode of my orders. Maybe I'm going to also specify the status that the orders are in. And what I've now done is I've added these filters. So they've been added to the list on top here. So let's say packing mode. I'm, in this case, only interested in my LTL shipments, for instance. Now we'll see that the list went down from, I think, 37 or 34 down to 11. And then I might also just be I might only be interested in jobs that I've transferred to my partners, but my partners haven't accepted yet. So I'll just select transfer pending, and then I'll see, look at that. That's only two orders. So I've already narrowed it down to very specific stuff. Again, for most of you, this will be going down from thousands or hundreds into dozens, not just to 2, but this is a test environment. So really, this filtering gives you a very easy way to narrow down and to find specifically what is relevant to you. But that's just on the list of the orders. Just going to remove one of these filters for now, but that's just on what you find. The next thing, though, is not only determining what you find in this list, but it is about showing the detail that is relevant to you. So, for instance, here in this report, I can see that my shipper and my sender company always show the same values. So if I'm exporting this into Excel or into Google Sheets, I don't care about this because it's always the same and it's duplicate information. So what I'm going to then do is I'm going to remove both of these columns. Now, the way to do that is I'm going to go over here to this column icon. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. So here, this column icon, and then if it allows me to zoom out again, there we go. Then I can tap the icon and I can scroll down and I can see all the columns that were enabled for this table. Right now I see shipper, poof, I click it and it's gone, and I click sender and poof, it's gone. And in some cases, I might want to add some other information that is relevant to me and might not be relevant for my colleagues. So what I can do, let's see, I might want to add invoice number in cases where there's an invoice number, or I'm going to add the SKU column. Oh, in this case, I noticed that it's empty. Okay, so I'll remove it again. And really, that gives me the opportunity to add any of all of these columns that are available. So that makes the report very specific to the users. Now, we get feedback a lot of time on a company that wish there were additional columns or additional pieces of information, and we're always welcome to add more. So you can really build your own specific reports. So now I have a report with the columns that I want and the filters that I want. And what I can do is for these columns, I don't want to come back every day and select the same sort of set of columns again that are specific to me. So what I'll do now is I'll save this selection of these columns. I'll save that as a preset. So I'll call this monthly learning 1. I'll just save that as a preset. And then when I go into my list of columns, you'll notice I have 2 tabs at the top, columns and presets. If I look at presets, I see that monthly learning 1 is now one of my presets, but I also have some that I defined before, like origin details. And if I tap on it, you'll see the column, the table change right away. It just gives me information about the origin address and origin country of my initial shipments. Then if I tap into monthly learning again, I'll see the columns that we selected before. Now, if I want to make sure that this one is the one that I see every day when I come in, I can easily say default. So we have this checkbox at the back. The one that's highlighted, that's your default. So whenever you log in, if you go to a different machine, different computer, you get there, these are the tables, the columns that will be loaded for you. So that's really easy. Now, the good thing about this, of course, nobody comes to this page to show rows and to have columns without having the ability to export it. So we've had the option to say, okay, I'm going to export. So you click the export icon, you'll generate a report. Of course, this will give you some basic options like, do you want an Excel sheet or do you want a CSV? What's the time zone you want to use for some of these dates? But we know most of you don't create reports just in isolation. Most of you share these reports within your organization. So it would be a lot easier if you could just email those reports to whomever you want. So there's a checkbox here that says email when done. So I could add mark@yojee.com if I want to. Can add all sorts of email addresses here, just separate them, and then everybody will get the report once it's generated. So that's a really cool feature. But then what we also noticed is that most of the reports that are generated once a day, and they're always the same. They have the same filters, they have the same column selection. So what we can also do is if we look at the bottom option called repeat, we can actually repeat this email. So I'm going to say I want this same report every weekday. And then the time of day, I can even set that. Now, at 8:30, if I enable this at 8:30 in the morning, both myself and Mark will get the same report based on the same filters and based on the same columns. So that's a really cool trick. We know a lot of you have found the ability to generate these column presets, but actually scheduling reports, that's a thing, I think a thing that is new, and that's a really powerful thing. So I think that's what we wanted to share on the reporting and those columns there. So again, if you have any questions on this, feel free to send them in the chat, and we'll make sure to address them either during this call or afterwards. The next thing that I want to talk about is the ability to instruct your driver with specific notes. And the way that I want to do that is I'm just going to create an order. I'll just do that manually right now. Now, most of you, of course, create orders either by connecting your SAP or your CargoWise implementation. What I'll do is I'll just create a dummy order right now. So this is 2411. Let's just call that demo. This information isn't all that relevant, but I have a pickup address and I have a drop-off address. I'm going to pick them from my address book. So let's say I have a thing that's going to be picked up at the Yojee office. So I just retrieve that from my address book by using the external address ID. And what you'll notice is all these details have been populated, including an instruction section at the bottom, which says central visitor lift for deliveries only. If you walk up in the building here, there's multiple elevators, but maybe I want to instruct the driver or to only use the central visitor lift. And then I'll go to my delivery location. So this is a bit of a less elegant shortcut, but same thing. I retrieve it from my address book, populates all the details, and then it gives me other specific instructions. So it says passport needed for gate pass, and then go to gate B upon arrival. Now, it retrieved both these sets of details from the address book, because we know a lot of these nodes are specific to addresses, are specific to locations. They won't change that much over time. So that's why we allow you to store them at the address book. But if you want to change these details, you could say, okay, maybe take off your shoes before you come in, or whatever kind of note you want to add. Even though it retrieved this information from the address book, you can change all these details as you please. So I'm just going to carry on here, actually create the order. So pickup today, delivery tomorrow. So these instructions will then be made visible to your driver, and I'll show how in a second. So I'll just finalize this order. So say it's a 25, 25, 25, 25, and 2, and it's a box of chocolates, for instance, right? So now I'm ready to create this order. I have these notes here. Oh, should not have closed it, but let's just go and find that same order again. So I believe, yep, this is it. So now my order is created, and I can start assigning this to a driver, but I can also transfer these notes to a partner, of course. So the way we do that is, as you all know, you can transfer these things in our system, but, and this brings me on the third topic, documentation, you can, of course, also generate documents that you share either over email or that we share attached to emails when you transfer. Okay, there we go. So what I did right now is I retrieved the consignment note for this specific order. I'm going to open that really quick. And what you can then see is obviously not only the note with the pickup information and the drop-off information, but it actually includes the notes that we added. So it includes the notes that were from the address book, where it said central visitor lift for deliveries only, and the note that I added to take off your shoes. Same with the destination. If we're going to the airport, then you're going to need your passport for the gate pass, and then it tells you where to go. And all these notes can be, again, customized and tailored and made specific for the drivers. Now, while we're looking at this document has been in Yojee for quite a while, but we've been doing quite a few interesting things to it. So we've been able to generate all sorts of custom documentations for quite a while, but the way that we do that now in the consignment note is fairly new. So you'll notice it has the freight order number that I added in the beginning. It has it over there. There's an order creation date, but there's a bunch of other things that we can choose to add to these documents. And if I could only go to the second tab, yep, here we go. So we can use this template now, or we can customize this template, but we can also start using this template as a proof of delivery. So I just switched to a proof of delivery document. This was an order that was created yesterday. And what you can see is there are quite a few different details on this document compared to the one that we just generated. For instance, the one we just generated has a freight order number. If I switch back to the POD, it also has a purchase order number on there. It has a bit of a different notes. You see, it doesn't have the notes for the first address, but it has the same notes for that delivery address at the airport. Because again, it retrieved those notes from the address book. But you can see it does have some special instructions on the item, these handcrafted ceramic mugs. But also, because this is a POD, it means the shipment was actually delivered. So we have the name of the person who signed for it in the app. We have the date and time where that happened, and we have their signature on this document now as well as for reference, we also show the pictures of the document that was added. So I think that's a fairly cool thing. So again, the takeaway out of this rambling was we can have notes that are specific to locations be added to orders. You can customize them per order if you want, or you can reuse what's in the address book. And then when you have those notes, they'll appear on the consignment note. If you want to, you can enable and disable that. They'll appear on the POD, and you can enable or disable that. And of course, they're visible for the driver as well, so they know where to go. And all this documentation can be tailored specific to you. Address details, phone numbers, You can have that be specific to your mill or your branch or your department or team. It's really all very customizable. So if I switch back to the presentation before we go into any questions, let me go over some real quick. So let's make this big again. So summarizing, we looked at 3 different topics in fairly high pace. So again, don't worry, reporting will be available. First, on the reporting. So you can tailor the reporting to your needs by making sure you set the filters that you want. Soon you'll be able to save those filters as well, but you can filter again to find the orders that you want. Then you can select the columns that you need. So to get the level of detail that is relevant to you. Some of you like to have 90 columns in a report, some of you only 5 columns, and it really, you can set that to whatever you need, and then you can save your own presets. Maybe have a preset for your Monday morning to look at last week, and then have different preset for throughout the day to see stuff that is pending. Really up to you. And then once you've set these filters and you've defined your columns, you can schedule reports. So that first thing when you arrive at the office, you just have all the details of the stuff that happened yesterday or the stuff that happened last week. You can even have scheduled reports to come in the first day of the month, so you can look at all your spending or all your usage last month. So really powerful stuff. Then on the notes, what we looked at is we can have notes now for saved in the address book and retrieved on your orders, and then you can tailor these notes if you need, if there's for whatever reason, whether there's a public holiday or somebody that you need to call typically is out sick, whatever reason, you can add those details there, and then we'll make that available on the documents and in the driver app. And then on the documents itself, it's now very easy to generate standardized documents that look a lot better than before, but also have the detail that is relevant to your organization. So you can tailor these documents, you can generate them on the fly, you can add them to your order, you can look them up in the app, and you can also use these same templates now as PODs to really get a consistent look and feel in the documents. Right, now I've gone through quite a few things. I think we'll try and get some questions. So I'm looking at my little system here to see if there are any questions that we can find, and I think we can. So let's see, this first question, I'm not going to try and pronounce any of the names. I don't want to be disrespectful and butcher them. So the first question here is on the reports, and let's see. I'll just rephrase it a little bit. So I think the question is if there is the ability to not only extract or generate spreadsheets, but if there's also a way to get this data into other reporting tools. Yes, yes, there is. So we know a lot of people generate these reports, and bit disrespectful, let's call them quick and dirty. So to generate spreadsheets, to do, a quick analysis. But most, especially our enterprise customers, they have their own internal tooling, Power BI or Tableau or whatever. And then if needed, we connect their analytics data or the Yojee generated data directly to those analytics databases. So if you want to build those reports, or if you want to have the Yojee data as part of your bigger supply chain reports, you can definitely do that. You don't need to depend on these spreadsheets or on these emailed reports. So that, of course, is definitely possible. So I hope that answered it. Again, if not, then of course, send an email or update your question here, and we'll make sure to have it answered after the call. Next question. See, okay. Okay, that's a decent one. It says, why are the pictures on the POD so small? So let me go to the POD document real quick. Yeah, so whoever asked this, you're right. If you print this document, these pictures will be fairly small. I assure you, if you look at the PDF and zoom in, they're big enough. So on this PDF document, of course, the purpose of this document is to be printed and to have it signed. So you can enable or disable to not or to show these pictures as part of them. You don't have to do that. But on the document, on the printed thing, it's really just for reference. If we add full-size pictures, then not only will you run out of ink fairly quickly, but your documents will be, 7 pages long if you have 3 or 4 or 5 different pictures. If you want to get the pictures in original resolution with the timestamps in there and all those details, you can go into the order and you can now download all these pictures specifically. So you can either download all the pictures for the pickup or for the drop-off, or all of them at once in a zip file with all the files. So it is there. We keep the files. You can access them. For the customers that are integrated, we can even share these files into your systems. But for this document, it's really just a reference. So that's why they're a little small. And let's looking at the time. I do think we have time for, I think, yeah, for one more at least. And let's try and see if we can have some questions on the notes. I think it's a fairly straightforward topic, but I'm sure we have some. Okay, this is an interesting one. Are the notes also available in the driver app? Yes, and I think I know I actually prepared to show that. I guess I didn't show it. I think I mentioned it. Yeah. So this is an example. This is a screenshot of a driver app I took this morning, where you can see the same address actually, because of course we do demos based on similar data. You see the task card for the driver. In this case, it says central visitor lift for deliveries only with the little notes icon. So yes, these are definitely available in the driver app, as well as again on the consignment note. Let's see, do we have another? Oh, no, we just don't see the other task card. If there are no notes, of course, we don't show this icon. We don't show the notes. If the note is longer, so if you write a book, we don't show the whole note. We show the start of the first sentence, just to let the driver know there is a note. And then we have an option to expand it so they can read the full thing. So you can choose to write the paragraph of a book, and the driver will still see it, and it will still be sort of usable in the app. So yes, we do show that, and apologies for not showing that before. Looking at the time, do we have time for one more question? I think we do. Okay, so this is a question I think that we see. I think it relates a little bit to adoption on the driver app. So what if the Yojee drivers don't do the tasks as they should? Are there any tips and tricks for us to handle that from the office? So yes and no. So we know in some cases, especially if you have a driver pool that is a little bit more fluid or a little bit more volatile, that sometimes it can be difficult to get drivers to truly adopt. So there's a bunch of things. In some cases, we allow the dispatcher to, of course, also close things on behalf of the driver, because you just get information through WhatsApp. But ideally, the driver would do that themselves. So we try and make it easy by showing, these suggestions of you've arrived, do you want to complete the task? And yeah, really, I think it comes back also to just it. We try to motivate people. It has to be positive, but if you want to see who does complete and who doesn't complete this stuff, you can get all that information from the reports, and then you can, some customers like to gamify it a little bit, give a little bit of an extra or some kind of a reward for the drivers that have the highest completion ratio or the fastest acceptance or the most pictures in an order, those things. But it starts with understanding who does and who doesn't use the system. And for that, really, you need the reports and to get the data and to do that. Looking at the time, I think we do have to wrap it up now because we scheduled this to be half an hour. My coffee is cold and my voice is getting raw, so I think I will end it. So thank you all for joining. Again, if you have questions, send them to support@Yojee, and we hope to see you next month with a few different topics. If you have suggestions or questions on topics, also send them to support@Yojee. For now, I think we will end the session. So thank you so much, and see you all later.